But of course, what have we learned since the terror war? National Guard troops get called up, away from home to be sent off to the Middle East, to patrol in some hellhole against insurgents getting blown up by IEDs when they thought they were going to build sandbag defenses for, floods. It's a lie.
Human Nature, a journey in search of a peaceful and prosperous society with human nature as a guide. Led by your host, Adam Heyman.
Hello there, and welcome to Heyman Nature. With me, as always, my spiky buddy Tyrone.
Hey, Adam. Good to be back again.
Good to see you. So today we're going to harken back to all those many Hollywood Oscar articles I wrote. Because buried in there was a little military complaint I want to talk about. It had to do with a recruitment ad that they were just spamming these Best Picture nominated Oscar movies. They would literally play it twice before each movie. So I got to see this stupid ad way more than I wanted to. So I wrote an article about it, and you and I are going to talk about it a little today. So without further ado, why don't you press play and show the good folks what the U.S. military is doing to try and attract attention.
We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's going to happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. The life we have chosen has prepared us for this. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disasters and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
All right, there you go. Nothing like a little military propaganda with your popcorn before a movie.
Twice before each Oscar-nominated movie. So, I don't know. That struck me as creepy in about 17 different dimensions, Tyrone. What do you think of that little advertisement?
Yeah, it's better than some of the ones that they've been coming out with lately. It's at least a little bit more focused on I don't know, straight sort of military activities, I guess, versus all the sort of DEI stuff that has been.
I will grant you they didn't lean into the trans goofiness or whatever else they've been trying to do. But I don't know. It still creeped me out.
Yeah, so I think there's a part of your article that I think it makes a really good point towards the end, but you had a lot of good points in your article. So I thought maybe we would just read it, maybe sections of it, and kind of comment on it a little bit. So I sort of edited your article down a little bit. So real quick, the first part of your article reads, the first bothersome thing is just how young all these soldiers are. This combined with the lack of older faces in any of the footage. I mean, none, with no adults in the ad. It gave off a creepy Lord of the Rings vibe. To me, I guess I was thinking back to all of the military ads that I've seen just growing up, and I don't know. I think they're always just sort of young people in the ads. I think maybe we're just getting older. So
there for sure was always young people in the ads, but I remember it used to be sort of a part of a coming of age narrative, and part of that narrative is you're learning to be what an adult is. So in those ads, I remember there was always a bunch of recruits and some older people training them on what's what, and leading them into combat if that's what the footage was. But this was all kids, and that voice that voice, the narrator, is extremely young sounding.
That's a good point. The voice is very young. Right. That's the part that really sticks out as far as being young, because in all the other ads that I can remember, it would be more of an adult speaking, right? Like a drill sergeant type of voice or something, be all you can be type of thing.
Yeah, just imagine how shocked the kids who decide to join up get when they actually get to their reserve unit. It's not just us kids playing around with these helicopters and mortars. Who are all these adults ordering me around? This is ridiculous.
Right. Also creepy is the not so subtle generational hatred in the narration. You ruined the world, old people. Now we have to come clean it up. That's an interesting subtext that you had there. I guess I didn't quite catch that. You want to say a little bit more about that, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I'll point out what made me think that. Um, well, it's right in the world. We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So, what's going to happen next? We are. I mean, there's a clear generational hatred vibe in this ad, and I don't think they're stupid to put it in there because there sort of is one in the country. And I don't blame them. When you hear the sort of common trope these days that the baby boomers ruined everything, I mean, there's certainly a sense in which that's kind of correct. I mean, I think it goes back, to Wilson, but the people that engaged in a bunch of policies that end up with us in 30 whatever trillion in debt that this government is, and all the
34
wars.
trillion and counting. Don't forget the extra 4 there.
Yeah, 30 some, and by the end of this podcast it'll be 35.
We can only hope.
So yeah, I certainly get why the young feel a little bit screwed over by the old, especially in these inflationary times. It's no 19-year-old that's running the Fed printing press, and they didn't ruin the economy.
Yeah.
It was old people, and so yeah, I get the resentment. It's a little bit more normal than the resentment you have for your parents, but I don't like seeing military recruitment ads lean into that shit. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah. You continue. There are also a disturbing number of girls in the ad. Perhaps it's my age or misogyny, but it really bothers me to see young women playing soldier. If fighting is what is required, men are built for it. War is our historical and evolutionary purview. It seems dirty and sad to see a girl all kitted up as an infantryman. Now we're going to come back to that one in just a second. But let's go on to the next part of your article, which continues. But all that is somewhat normal annoyance. I expect all that. And military recruitment ads are always creepy to me. But what really startled me was the last line: the next greatest generation is now. That is creepy. That is creepy and very, very subtle. The term greatest generation is used to describe those who fought in World War II. Is the regime signaling their intent to begin World War III soon and to draft our kids to fight it? I'm having a hard time imagining that the use of that term was accidental. I think they are planting seeds, perhaps even subconsciously. I think that's a very interesting point. I think a lot of young kids, especially that millennial generation, and maybe, man, the age of those kids in that ad, are they really more Gen Z? Because what is millennial now? Aren't they in their 30s right now, kind of?
Yeah, this is farther along than millennial for sure.
But you do hear a lot of times that at least the millennial generation is definitely struggling to find purpose and meaning. So here along comes the government to tell you, hey, you can be the greatest generation and have purpose. I don't know. You want any more thoughts on that? Expound on what you have there.
Well, I mean, World War II was just about the worst thing that ever happened on this planet. And our lovely government is not only saber rattling with China over Taiwan, we're engaged in a 2-year-long proxy war using Ukraine up against Putin's Russia. So them using phraseology that harkens back to World War II is not just an empty threat or an exaggeration. There are a lot of people in our current government administration that want to start a war, that think it's a noble pursuit. It's good for the country. It's good for the globe. We cannot tolerate evil. what are we going to do? Abandon our our democratic friends in Kiev and whatever the capital of Taiwan is. Yeah, I think this is a creepy, horrible, dangerous thing, and it breaks my heart to see him beckoning like some witch to the children to come fight a freaking world war.
Yeah. Now, I think the last point of your article is the one that really is really what came to my mind, and what I think is really insidious about this. And it's this one. The narration speaks of the type of civil duties one might expect of the National Guard, just helping the citizens of a state when the governor declares some local emergency. But remember, National Guard troops have been deployed all over the Middle East in the last 3 decades in wars undeclared by our Congress. The narration is a lie. These kids are more likely to be fighting insurgents in some hellhole than laying sandbags to save a town from flooding or the like. Now, I watched that video a couple times, and I could be wrong, but I'm not sure I saw one gun in that ad.
I didn't. The closest military training I saw, and again, I could have missed something, it's a bunch of jump cuts, but they had, some young grunt recruit with their face in the muck, crawling under that razor wire goofiness that we all have seen in films and perhaps nowhere else. But no, but the rest of it is all the stuff that, you could sort of get behind, you know. If you're a minarchist, you could sort of get, why you might want to have kids, put in a couple of years doing national civic duty, get the rainstorm, you can get out there with your trucks and help people, put the sandbags, in front of the flood, help pass out food. What do they say? We're going to build the hospitals and homes or whatever. I'm not for that, obviously.
Right.
I think markets can provide these things way better than any monopolistic government, but at least that's like something that's not evil. But of course, what have we learned since the terror war? National Guard troops get called up, away from home to be sent off to the Middle East, to patrol in some hellhole against insurgents getting blown up by IEDs when they thought they were going to build sandbag defenses for, floods. It's a lie. It should insult everyone's intelligence, but they're presenting this to 18 and 19-year-olds. They don't have the critical thinking skills to, detect what a lie this is. It's really evil. I hate what they're doing here.
Yeah, this whole ad just makes it seem like, oh, the National Guard is some charity organization. It just wears camouflage for some reason and flies around in helicopters. What?
Well, you got to use the helicopters to carry the sandbags, Tyrone.
I've had many friends and coworkers that serve in the National Guard, and they're constantly being called up to go to Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever the situation would have been. They are an extension of the fighting force of the military. That's what they've become, and they just get called up out of the blue. They're called the National Guard. Whose nation are they guarding?
Anyone but yours.
Not mine.
Yeah, it's and remember, these are undeclared wars, just in case you remember your 5th grade civics segment of lies where the Congress has the power to declare war. The executive is merely tasked with carrying it out, but we've abandoned that practice. So yeah, how sick do you feel if it's early 2001 and you're some patriotic kid and you sign up for the National Guard thinking you're going to help, in case there's a fire, and then you find yourself in Iraq, or Afghanistan for your 8 years or whatever.
How much trouble would I get in, Adam, if I took that ad, cut out the voiceover, and added my own voiceover with something like, join the National Guard. You can help kill foreign people, get your legs blown off, become suffer PTSD. All of this and more can be yours by joining the National Guard.
I like it.
How would that recruitment video go?
You keep the tone really slow and positive, real professional, and then every handful of frames you just splice in some horror show from Fallujah, or bodies with their limbs blown off, again, driving over some IED. Or maybe we should just sue the federal government over a truth in advertising claim. What kind of bill of goods are you trying to sell these poor kids? Just
Really,
telling
no
lies.
kidding. Now, that point that you made about the constitutional war powers, you had a piece in your article that I didn't show there. You want to talk about that, the Defending the Guard movement?
Yeah. It's a fairly new movement. It's called Defend the Guard. It's being pushed by the Libertarian Party quite a bit, and it's starting to get a little headway. They're trying to get it in front of many state legislative houses as they can, and the point of it is to say that the National Guard units in whatever state picks up this legislation and passes it is not to be called up by the feds for any war that has not been declared by Congress as is warranted by the Constitution. And in the next couple of years, one of these things is going to get passed somewhere, and then I bet it's going to get passed everywhere.
Oh, it hasn't been passed anywhere yet?
Not yet.
Oh.
It's passed like in bicameral houses. It's like passed one, maybe not the other.
I see.
I'd have to look in. At the end of the thing, we'll put in some links to
the
site where they can tell you exactly where they're at. But they're pushing it pretty hard. Like they made traction in Arizona, I think, and a couple others. I should know, but I've forgotten. But the point is, the Constitution, was written far better than the government that we currently live under. And as much as it's a weak reed with which to defend our liberty, it is nice to be able to show the hypocrisy and say, look, you're not following your own rules. And until you decide to do so, you cannot have these young men and women that are ostensibly under the direction of the governor, not the commander in chief. And I think it'd just be lovely. It would just be lovely if this got passed everywhere. There's urgent need for it.
Right. Now, before all my fellow porcupines out there start screaming and hollering that why would we support something like Defend the Guard? Because don't we want to privatize everything, even including the military? So by supporting the Defend the Guard, aren't we tacitly giving our support to the military in general? Okay, guys, calm down. Look, we have to live in the world we live in reality, and do the things that we can do to incrementally, like, it's not a compromise to push incrementally towards the goal of more liberty or privatization. Just because we can't snap our fingers and get there, it doesn't mean we're not being pure to our principles. What we're saying is, look, here are our principles, but those aren't achievable right now, but here is what achievable, and maybe by doing something like this, it'll help wake people up or open some people's eyes or educate them, because really I think that's the only path we have towards liberty. We're not going to win a revolution. I think all these people that are stocking up supplies of food in some little house far away in the hills of Idaho, thinking they're going to fight off the government when the time comes, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. All it will take is one drone to bomb the hell out of you from the sky. You'll never see it coming. We're not going to win this militarily. There's not going to be a violent revolution. We're not going to overthrow the government. That's impossible. The only way we can get there is through education. I don't know. Do you agree, disagree with that? That's my stance anyway.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's going to be Red Dawn, but I also am mighty partial to an underground bunker filled with ARs and a bunch of food, But as far as the Defend the Guard thing, I think if the aim is liberty, you push on whatever lever and push whatever rock you can to move to move in that direction. If I'm advocating and see a chance politically to get taxes reduced from 20% to 15%, and I argue for that, it doesn't mean I support a 15% tax rate.
Right.
And similarly, what this does is starve the bloody regime empire of bodies that it wants to use to throw into the maw and perpetuate its own, thievery and corruption and murder. It's good to deprive them of those resources. And if we can do it, and the means that we use is, the decentralization of power in the Constitution, that these soldiers are supposed to be there for the governor's purpose, well then, yeah, let's make that argument. Doesn't mean I'm in favor of governors. It just means I want to starve the beast in as many ways as I possibly can, and while all the time arguing strenuously for as small a government as possible, ideally zero.
Well, I mean, don't worry, Adam. I mean, you shouldn't be too concerned about the military's recruiting numbers. I mean, they've got all those immigrants they're gonna put into the military, so they're in good shape. They got
it horrifies me to hear that Ukraine has gotten so desperate that it's drafting people up to the age of 60. Makes my ears perk up. What? I'm not out of the woods if push comes to shove.
Yeah, that is nuts, and they're and that is such a mess. I don't even know what to believe with that one. Maybe we'll do that with another episode, because you go on the Googles or whatever your news feed is, and half the stories are like Ukraine's winning and the other half is Russia's winning, and like I have no idea what's right. It's like it still seems like it's going on, so nobody's lost yet.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tyrone. I've heard nothing but true stories. Last I heard, the ghost of Kiev has shot down 539 Russian fighters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to believe. All right. Well, we glossed over it, but let's go rewind to the most controversial part of your article. Adam, man, you're a misogynist, dude. Seriously, you don't want women to be in the military, equal rights and all that, man. Come on, dude.
I don't, and I know I'm a little bit anachronistic. It's not like we're fighting with sword and shield, and you need the strength and stamina of a man to uphold your section of the phalanx, shield wall. I know it's not. We don't fight like that anymore, but yeah, I grew up with John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, and it bothers me in some way to be pushing our women folk to the front lines to be fighting, as infantry or anything close to it. And I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite because, if some gang of lunatics were to burst into this house right now, both my wife and I would have gun in hand,
Right.
defending ourselves, so I know women are capable of defense, and I wouldn't want them to not be.
Right.
But still, there's something about, and especially these young women, these 18, 19-year-old women, all kitted up like they're joining SEAL Team 6, and it's just something really freaking bothers me about that.
Yeah, there's something weird about that. However, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. Again, I'm for just getting rid of the whole military altogether and going to a whole privatized defense system. And
Sure.
I would just let the market decide.
Absolutely.
So if the market decides that women should be officers in the defense force or whatever the case may be, cool. I don't care. And if there are women that want to do that and that's really their passion, cool. I don't have anything wrong with that. It's just something about the military that just is a little, well, it's kind of the whole thing is kind of messed up.
Well, it's one size fits all, so it doesn't really matter what your preferences are. You're just going to get what you get. And yeah, I still might have a problem with women, in combat, but at least if it was market based, then the decisions of all participants involved, both the women themselves and then the people who are paying the bills and ordering a specific set of services from a specific company with a specific set of policies, at least that would all be handled by freedom of association. And if I'm, lost in the past and I'm just out of touch, well, okay, then the market will say.
Yeah,
and I don't think I am, though. I mean, just take it out of the sexist spectrum. If you're out on patrol, and you're some, giga chad, super stud, and the guy who's there watching your back is just some, nerdy guy, short, weak, clumsy, asthmatic, probably would have gotten, drummed out on a 4F if, if this was Vietnam or whatever.
Right.
You're obviously being put in jeopardy because the person that's there watching your back isn't, up to snuff. And obviously there are exceptions. I know what a bell curve looks like, but in general, men are stronger and faster and have more stamina than women. And there's something weird about insisting that we put forth the physically weaker of our species as if they're just the same as men. I love women, but they're not the same as men. For one thing, we're more expendable. The survival of the human race doesn't really depend. You can lose a whole lot of men and still be okay. You can't lose women.
That I was going to make that point after World War II. Gosh, I don't have this number off the top of my head, but the Russian, the young males were wiped out. I mean, the population of young men in Russia after World War II was something like 20% of what it was before the war. It could be even worse than that. But within one generation, it was back up to normal levels of population demographics, men and women. And that's because women bear the children. They have the children. So if you kill your women, there's no repopulating the society. Now, I suppose in some sort of weird, I don't know, futuristic techno state, we can just grow humans in a vat or something, but I don't know. But
or if all we were doing is, being a frontline soldier meant piloting a drone,
right,
from thousands of miles away, then okay, who cares? But
right,
we're not there yet.
Yeah. Well, we have one more video clip on this sort of topic, and again, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with it. I think it's just an interesting point of view. And I think we should. Oh, go ahead.
One super fast thing before we move on to this clip, which is great. We were talking about kidding up these women, to fight as infantrymen. That's the visual you see in the ad.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of got me thinking that we're a society of LARPers almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've been sending soldiers over to Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and whatnot, and they've been fighting and dying.
Right.
But when I see ads like this, and those ads from the CIA talking about how gay and trans they are, how incredibly filled with DEI, I just feel like we're LARPing. We're not serious. And if we were ever to actually face a real conflict, reality would come smash us right in the face.
Right.
I think we're kidding.
Right.
Again, LARPing is the term that comes to mind.
Yeah. In a real emergency situation, all that stuff goes out the window immediately.
Of course.
It's yeah. All right. You want to set this clip up? And again, I'm just gonna like I was saying, I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other about women in the military or whatever. Like I said, I just think the market should handle it. And I think I think all women would benefit from learning self-defense. I think all men would benefiting self-defense, learning how to use a weapon. You think of the Old West, right? They called the shotgun the great equalizer because it was made for women, because it was an easy weapon to handle and to easily be able to defend themselves against, a bigger, stronger gang of men that might be roaming by while their husband is out on the prairie herding the cattle, right? So things like that are super important. Look, we can't kid ourselves that we live in this society where there aren't bad people and there isn't violence. Like you said, they're just LARPing. Like we're just going to go fill sandbags. I mean, if that's what you think the National Guard's about, well. So anyway, why don't you set this clip up? We'll just play it because in case people haven't seen it, I think it's really interesting to see, and let people make up their own minds about it. Really.
I don't really have anything in prep. This is from Dave Smith talking to Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah. So
an amazing interview, over 2 hours long. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely.
I absolutely love that our people are talking to people on, both of the other sides, and I think we're rubbing off on them. It's a very exciting time in public discourse, and so the fact that a guy who favored the Iraq War back in the day,
right?
He's changed his mind since then. But a guy who was pushing that neocon crap is sitting down with one of our strongest libertarian spokesmen, and just nodding along and going, "I agree. That's wonderful." So yeah, this is just a little snippet of a clip from it. Why don't you go ahead and hit play.
Now Dave Smith was the guest on Tucker's show, but this clip that we pull is actually Tucker more telling a story about how he got turned around on the whole Iraq thing, and it's when he made a trip to Iraq and really saw what was going on that changed his whole view. So go ahead and hit play on your end, Adam.
All right, will do.
The bottom line was, we're not good at colonialism.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the self-confidence. We're not sort of bringing Christianity and civilization. There's no like clearly defined goal for this. And we're bad at it. And the armed forces is not designed to do that. And the effect was super obvious. It was chaos. And the one thing I cannot deal with and I hate, and I think all people hate instinctively, is chaos. People can handle repression. They live under repressive regimes, all through history they can't handle chaos. And we brought chaos to Iraq. And I just thought, this is the opposite of what a great power should be doing. This is disgusting. And I saw really, really clearly that it would never get better. And I'll just add one more thing to this, which I've never forgotten. We went into the Green Zone one night and had dinner with some generals. I did. And I'd always sort of liked, my dad was in the military. I sort of respected the military. I didn't realize how corrupt and disgusting and feminized the officer class was and politicized. Just repulsive people, actually, at the flag officer level. So we're sitting at dinner, and this general is telling me about, I saw something really touching today. We had this female officer, and she was killed. Her legs were blown off by an IED, and her husband was there. And they've got 3 kids back in Virginia, but he held her hand as she died of this ultimate sacrifice for America. And I was like, what? You're like celebrating this? A girl got killed? A mother? I thought we fought wars to protect mothers and children. First of all, if you're sending girls to fight your wars, you're disgusting.
Yeah.
Because you're violating the most basic agreement there is, which is the man protects. And in exchange for that, the willingness to sacrifice his life, he gets to be revered as a man and sit at the head of the table and all the benefits of being a man. And there are many. But
and
if you're
your woman
sending
will bear your children for
100%,
you,
if you're sending women to protect you, if there's a home invasion at your house at 3 a.m, and you're like, honey, I dealt with the last one, go defend us. I hope that she leaves you, and she will, by the way.
Yes.
So if you're sending women to defend you, it's not a civilization worth defending. That's how I feel.
Can you imagine? I mean, going with the mother of your children and going to war with them?
A mother gets her legs blown off, and you think that's a good thing? And I lost control at the table with this guy and said almost exactly what I think. It's disgusting. And it's not because I don't think women should be defending our country, not because I don't love women. It's because I do love women. They're above that. We should be defending our women.
Yeah, I don't know how supporting women getting their legs blown off,
exactly.
that's become the pro-woman position.
Exactly. And this guy accused me of being like a woman hater or something. Here I've got a wife and 3 daughters who I revere, who I would die for without thinking. Yeah. And I'm like, I hated him. I don't think I've ever hated a man more than I hated this general. I wish I remember his name. And the PIO, the fairly well-known sort of spokesman for the Provisional Authority, Dan Senor, was sitting at the table. He was very offended by my behavior, but I was outraged. And that rage has sort of has just exploded on you. Sorry, but it's never left me.
I really enjoyed it.
I came back to Washington and I was like, and I did an interview with the New York Times. And I said, I cannot believe I supported something like this. Is totally evil what we're doing.
Well, there you go, folks. You can do with that what you will.
I don't like Tucker all the time, but I sure liked him in this interview. Again, I think we're rubbing off on people in really good ways. And here, I totally get it. I mean, it would be sort of one thing if it was a home invasion and you and your wife, trying to fight them off and, it didn't work out, or it was Red Dawn and you were actually protecting your homeland and you just ran out of people and the women had to fight. But this wasn't, in your house. This wasn't even in America. This was in Iraq. And we're celebrating, some woman getting her legs blown off and dying by the side of her husband, who's also there with 3 apparently, who's taking care of those kids? I get the instinct. I really do.
I'm sure they gave her a Purple Heart, though.
I hope those children are angry with their government because they have every right to be.
All right. Well, that was depressing.
Yeah, that was sad.
Why'd you bring that up?
It just wasn't my fault.
Let's do something fun, Adam.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Now, you remember from we've done this over a couple of episodes. We've been playing a game.
Oh, I love this game.
We've made up called First to Ruin the World. And the first round, you and I went through it together, sort of a bracket style game. And we'll bring that bracket up here in just a second. And we did the first round, and then the awesome part is we turned it over to our subscribers, to our viewers, listeners, to vote on taking the game forward. Here we go. We're ready to see the results of the voting for the second round of our game. First to ruin the world. All right. Now, as you may recall, we have 4 different categories. We've got a culture category, a politics category, a conspiracy category, and a weed paree category. Any of these things are just as likely in this crazy world to ruin the world first. Who knows? It could be any of these things. We took our best. Oh, go ahead.
Before we give the big reveal for round 2, I would just like to say that I despise democracy. I was much more comfortable in round 1 when it was just you and me, and mostly me, making these decisions. But I would also like to thank our subscribers, viewers, and watchers. They piled in and they voted and turned it over to the public. So
we have turned it over to the people, Adam, to the people. Okay, so in round 2, in the culture conference, we've got Taylor Swift versus Miley Cyrus. Okay, which of these did our fine viewers and subscribers think was bound to ruin the world first? Well, with 90% of the vote, it wasn't even close. The winner was Taylor Swift.
I'm shocked.
Any surprise there?
I'm a little shocked. I mean, admittedly, Taylor and her army of Swifties have more relevance and power, but I really thought that retarded picture of Miley Cyrus was going to get it done for her. I mean, you've got her with one droopy eye. She looks like she's suffering a vaccine injury. All right, I'll admit it. The fans got this one right. Taylor Swift is clearly a bigger danger to ruin the world faster than Miley.
All right. We're going to move over to the politics conference.
All right.
Between Janet Yellen going up against AOC. Again, another landslide with 80% of the vote. So not quite as strong as Taylor Swift, but with 80% of the vote. The winner of the politics category is Janet Yellen.
Our viewers and subscribers are smart. The way I'm interpreting this, Tyrone, I don't know about you, but I think they're seeing that despite how horrible and dangerous the threat of the political philosophy of progressivism is, or whatever AOC represents, that the money problem, the fiat problem, is more bigger danger. They're going to flood us in fiat and counterfeit us into bankruptcy and a currency collapse, even worse than bankruptcy.
Right. Yeah, there'll be a currency collapse likely, but yeah, I mean, all the progressive policies in the world don't do you any good if you don't have money to spend programs on, right? So once you're really bankrupt, then it's over. Although we've been saying it for 50 years, the debt's out of control. I don't know, nothing never seems to collapse, but gotta happen one of these days.
Do you think 25 years from now, you and me are just going to finally admit that not only was Keynes right, but the modern monetary theory lunatics, they were right too?
I don't know, man. Maybe.
I won't do it. I'll go hide in the forest.
All right. Let's move on to the weed paree category, Adam. Here we've got Skynet versus Taco Bell. Now, as we all learned in Demolition Man, Taco Bell is destined to ruin the world. Did our viewers, subscribers agree? Well, with 64% of the vote, they agreed Taco Bell was going to rule the day, or the pot.
Yeah, rule the pot. I'll just have you know that the future documentary called Demolition Man didn't say that Taco Bell ruined the world. They said they won the restaurant wars. That could be just because they're better. And despite this heinous, libelous picture you've chosen, Taco Bell does not yet have a Pepto-Bismol flavored taco shell.
But it's always good to put a little Pepto on your but I think,
So what do you think about this?
helps it go down.
I mean, Skynet, Terminator, Arnold, I'll be back. Do you think our viewers got it right?
So either we'll I guess they're saying we're gonna die of diabetes and obesity before Skynet gets up and running, which
maybe it is.
Which could be.
It is a speed thing. Maybe it could be. Could be.
All right. The final category for the round 2 of our bracket playoff here in the conspiracy conference, we had the United States Central Intelligence Agency go up against Prince, now King Charles Doofus III, in his big fancy hat. I know I personally was rooting for the guy in the hat because it's just awesome. But with 93% of the vote decided, it's more likely to be the CIA. What do you think, Adam?
93%. What? Let me ask you this: what do you think Tom Luongo would have said?
Yeah, I don't know. Tom Luongo does have that theory, which I'm partial to, that a lot of this stuff began in 1689 with the formation of the Bank of England, and it's been going on ever since. And the British Crown is still pulling a lot of the strings behind the scenes. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, I think I agree with our fans. I'm horrified of the Central Intelligence Agency. It might be a matter of proximity, and I like science fiction and fantasy. I like Dumbledore and Harry Potter. I like seeing a old goofball in a fuzzy hat wielding twin scepters like you had in the original photo. So yeah, I think the most demonic entity was chosen correctly.
All right, Adam, that means we've made it to the semi-final round.
So exciting.
Where now the conferences are going to start going head-to-head against each other. So in the semifinal round, we're going to have the Culture Conference go against the WWIII Conference. So it's going to be Tay versus Taco Bell. And then we're going to have the Politics versus the Conspiracy Conference. So it's going to be Yellen versus the CIA. So again, we're going to turn this over to our viewers and subscribers to vote again to see who is going to make it to the finals. Heads up to determine who is the first to likely ruin the world.
Well, I can't think of anything more important going on in the world right now than this. So I definitely urge our listeners, viewers, and subscribers to go to heymannature.substack.com. And there you will find the poll featured prominently that would allow you to clue us all in on one of the most important things that's affecting our civilization. So don't screw it up.
All right, remember to like and subscribe, and if you're so desire, become a paid member at our Substack for bonus content, or at least sign up for the free newsletter that Adam and I send out 5 times a week. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next round of the game. See what the results are, Adam.
Amen, Tyrone. Pleasure as always.
Okay. All right. Oh, how do my eyes look where I'm looking at the camera?
Like about 33% Down syndrome. You look fine, man. You look fine.
Oh man, I'm glad I already hit the record button because that's going on the outtakes at the end.